Shush you. Hey, Fran, how we doing?
Hey, Jen.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you, all right?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Good, good.
Give everyone a couple of minutes. There's Fran.
There I am.
How we doing, Fran?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'll try and get into the light. I know that's even worse.
It's trying to find the right spot, isn't it?
I know. My partner's cleaning in the light room, so I'm destined to be in here today.
You're in the dark dungeon.
The dark dungeon, that's it. You okay?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really good.
Good. Hi, Dave.
Hiya, Fran, all right?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good. I didn't see any birthday burpees from Georgia this morning.
I'm going to put a post up about that later, Dave. Because she's only 20, Mark and I kind of decided that she should probably do triple the amount.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Cool. I'll get that one out soon.
Poor girl.
Oh, hey, Mark. There's a face I've not seen for a while. Nice of you to join us, Mark.
Well, I think I was joined rather than me joining you.
Oh, hey, Laura. How are we doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I've not seen you in a while.
No, I've been at work every single one, and this is the only day, so I was like, oh, I'll come on and see you.
Nice. We will give it a couple more. Hey, Simone, how are we doing? Oh, her audio's not on yet. Hey, Simone, you all right?
Hi, yeah. Makes it such fun.
Oh, we got loads of people. Jamie's in. Hey, Jamie.
Morning or afternoon.
Afternoon now. Georgina's up. Look at Georgina in the garden.
Oh no, finally.
Taking a leaf out of PT's book.
I'm chilly where I'm sitting, but if I sit in the sun, I won't get any Wi-Fi.
You all right, Dee?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good. Look at there's more people than yesterday. It's good. No one fancied working out at lunchtime then?
Not today. Yesterday's was hard enough. Gosh.
I did 9 o'clock.
I did 9 o'clock as well.
Nice.
I've got 6 o'clock down, so.
Nice. Cool. I'm going to give it one more minute because I know PT likes to join late if she is, and then we'll look to get started. How's everyone feeling? We ready for our little heat wave this weekend?
Yes.
Nice.
Staying inside. Yes.
Yes, I'm inside. I'll look at it from the window.
Enjoy this. I'm excited.
Oh, Bea, you in a flat? I take
Yeah.
Oh.
I have like a little car park outside.
That'll do. Use the car park.
You have an allocated car parking space. You can just throw a towel down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the car is in it, so.
Okay,
I've
maybe
mown less than I've got a tiny garden. We just moved to town at Christmas. I was like, oh no, children, it's fine because we have the town. We can nip in and out and everything. But I was like, awkward.
There is a lot of people in the house that go and just bring a chair outside, but we don't have a chair. Like right now I'm sitting on a box because the only chair we have is Sam's working chair.
Something.
Sorry?
So much stuff I could lend you.
Ah, bring it all.
He's like, I'm going to just take everything.
Like a foldable chair I would like.
Honestly, I could sort that for you so easily.
There we go. Look at that.
That would be really nice. I could sit outside.
How far away you are?
I'm in Upper Hill.
Okay, and I'm in Ash, so not very far, so I could drop something off.
Oh, that would be so cool.
She needs a chair for a car park. Come on.
Definitely car park, yeah.
I want to
Okay.
see pictures of B sunbathing this weekend. That's
Yeah,
it.
like,
You need to send me a list of things you need, and we're bound to have it. We're a Noah family. We have at least 2 of everything anytime we buy anything. And
nice.
honestly,
I would be like, I want this, and I want this, and I want this.
we have a caravan that's full of stuff, an attic that's full of stuff, the whole house is full of stuff.
Oh, wow.
Wow. All right, guys, we shall get started. So, obviously, earlier in the week, we talked about protein and getting everyone's protein sources in and making sure that our plates had our little palm size of protein on there. Yesterday, we spent quite a bit of time talking about carbs. I know I haven't uploaded it yet. I had a couple of problems with this account for Zoom. So with the carbs, kind of your cup full size for carbs, and for your, well, a handful for veggies, and you want more of a fist size for your actual grains. So we talk quite a lot about the different types of grains and trying to stay away from your processed type foods and trying to stick with, in some cases, more root vegetables. In other cases, kind of like your rice, your quinoa, your bulgur wheat, all that kind of stuff. Karen's shaking her head like, no.
No, it's because you keep saying, which bit of this is protein, which is,
Yeah.
this is a vegetable, right? As he's scoffing on a chip. Yeah.
The root vegetable.
Technically a root vegetable, potatoes, yes. Technically classed as a veg. But we tend to use potatoes for our carbs more so because they are a lot more nutritionally dense than our other veggies, like our kind of cauliflowers, cabbage, all that kind of stuff. I probably reeled off like the worst vegetables out of all of them to reel off. But there you go. So today we're going to talk a little bit about our fats. So when we discussed this the first time, much to B's disappointment, you should only really have a thumb size portion of fat on your plate. Okay, that is your thumb size. So if you've got a bigger thumb and you like peanut butter, this is great. But for our average person, that's not necessarily the case. Okay. So I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about some of our good fats. So when we cook, I tend to cook with virgin olive oil. Olive oil is probably one of the better things to cook with from fats. Try and avoid butter, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, any of those, because they are quite heavily processed in comparison. But they're some of the good fat. That's kind of the good fat that you want to be cooking with. Other ones are actually things like walnut oil. I don't know if anyone's ever cooked with walnut oil. And avocado oil is another good one as well. It's a really healthy one to cook with. Does everyone tend to cook with olive oil, or does anyone cook with anything spectacular?
Rapeseed oil.
Rapeseed oil. It's kind of
Coconut oil.
Coconut oil.
Coconut oil.
coconut oil. Cool.
Yeah.
So long as we're not kind of cooking with the really high fatty stuff, we're pretty much in good shape for that kind of stuff. I tend to, depending on what I'm cooking as well, I don't know about you guys, but I won't always cook with oil. So if I'm cooking quite fatty meats, I tend to just cook the meat and use the meat fat while it's cooking. But it's kind of down to personal preference. So some of the other good fats, cheese lovers here may be happy about this. For cheese that's kind of 6 months or older, that's a good cheese to eat. So you're talking more your kind of harder cheeses, right? We're not talking about the soft cheeses that are done less than 6 months. Anything over 6 months is classed as a good one. But again, you're probably not going to get a cheese sandwich with a thumb-sized bit of cheese, just so that you know. I don't know how you fit that into a sandwich, guys.
A small sandwich.
Yeah. Egg yolks are also classed as a fat. So while eggs are a good source of protein, the yolk itself is actually quite fatty. For the sake of nutrition and keeping it simple, if you cook with eggs, just class the whole egg as your protein source. Don't worry about the fat part of it. It's much higher in protein if you're doing like scrambled egg or fried egg. Obviously, if you're then going to fry it in vegetable oil, that's a different story. What's up, Simone?
Is there like a limit on how many eggs you can eat a day?
Not really. I mean, so long as you can fit it into your protein, your kind of protein guidance, that's fine. So for some people that, like, especially if you're not a meat eater, but you are good with dairy and eggs, eggs is one of the best ways to get that protein intake in, right?
Okay. Yeah,
There's
I'm
no-
just snackish. Like it's going to be a boiled egg now.
Yeah, that's one of the things we talked about earlier in the week, like a really good go-to snack if you need protein, because obviously most of our go-to snacks tend to be biscuits, carbs, biscuits. Eggs is a good option as well if you're bored of Greek yogurt and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Some of the other things that come down as good fats, you're looking at kind of like, I don't know how many people use chia seeds, flax seeds, sesame seeds, all those kind of seeds. They're all classed as a good fat. Chia seeds are, I tend to put chia seeds in my overnight oats just to give it a little bit more, because I tend to just chuck my oats in with some protein powder and some water. So the chia seeds help add a little bit of fat to that, because you want to try and keep the meal balanced. So if you're eating something you know that doesn't have that balance, it's a really good way to get those fats in. Cashew nuts, again. Size though, guys. Awkward. Pistachio nuts, almonds, Brazil nuts, pecans, peanut and peanut butter and nut butters are good. Just make sure when you get your nut butter, if you're not making your own, it's got minimal amount of ingredients on it. Like you want to try and get 100% nut butter. Yeah. It's really easy to check. Just check the ingredients list. It's Sainsbury's actually do, not that I'm pitching for Sainsbury's, Sainsbury's actually, their almond butter is just 100% almond. There's no other ingredients in it, and it's dirt cheap compared to like the pippin nut and all of that stuff. So just try and, if you're going to use nut butters, try and find something that doesn't have any other ingredients in it. And
peanut, I take it peanuts should be the naked awful ones, not the roasted salted ones.
Or the honey roasted. No, it should be just normal peanuts. Anyone like olives? Olives are classed as your fats as well. Everyone's like, oh my god. Yeah, olives are classed as a fat. Pesto's a good one as well. That's also a fat. And then we spoke about coconut oil earlier, but anything coconut unprocessed is also classed as a fat. Not so much coconut milk, but you're looking at your coconut oil, your coconut chips, that kind of stuff. Does anyone ever eat coconut chips on their own? No.
But that would be like good fat.
Yeah, really good fats to eat. So if you can, that's kind of where you want to build the fats into your food. Some of the all right fats, but not great fats. Just going through some of them. So flaxseed oil is kind of on there. It's one that you want to have, but not as often. The same as kind of your peanut oil, your sesame oil, any of your slightly less healthy fats, but they're not necessarily amazing, but they are great for flavor if you want to have them once in a while. Linseed oil isn't on my list, but it would come under that one day. Okay. Cream, anyone love cream?
Yeah.
Everyone in the world.
Me too. That's kind of like one of those things that is all right to have once in a while. Just don't go crazy with it. Although, I mean, I'm having a little reality check right now about the amount of cream I put on my food, and it's definitely not fun size. So the moral is, guys, if you want to have like an apple pie or anything with loads of cream, save your fats for the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Marinades and dressings. So when we talk about salads and we add marinades on them, or salad dressings or anything like that, they are classed as something that you should have every now and then, not something you should have daily. So the best thing to do when you're doing salad dressings is keep it simple. So things like balsamic oil, olive oil, and then put your salt and pepper or spices in it. That's a really good way to get a good dressing. That's not going to be one of those that's going to push you over on calories or good or bad fats or anything like that. But that's just another way to really try and control those dressings that you put on salads. Sunflower oil is on the okay-ish list. I personally avoid it like the plague, the same as vegetable oil, just because it is not good at all. It's extremely processed in comparison to the rest. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, can I just double check that thumb size? That was for a day or for a meal? I mean, yeah.
So your guide will have how many thumb-sized portions you can have in a day. I think mine's anything from 6 to 8. I think off the top of my head. So yeah, like I said, if you want an apple pie with cream, save your fat portions. But yeah, it kind of gives you an idea. We eat way more fat in our diet than we think, just based off of portion sizing as a whole. So alas, guys, bad fats. So things that we definitely shouldn't be eating all the time. Bacon, sausage. This destroyed me when I saw it. It's one of my favorite things. Butter is on there. Now, I think with butter, one of the things to bear in mind is I use butter a lot. My thing is I probably don't use tons of it, and I only really use it once a day. I don't cook with it. So it really depends on how much butter you have and what you're doing with it. Margarine is a big no-no. I don't know has anyone ever seen, it was flying around on Facebook, there was a video of like a plate with margarine and butter on either side, and it was where the ants went to on the plate, and they all went to the butter because the margarine is just so highly processed they can't get anything out of it. It's quite mad. It's a really weird thing to see. Processed cheese, so your cheese slices for your burgers, your kind of soft cheeses, they're not classed as very good for you. So here we go: corn oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, soybean oil, vegetable oil. They're all, as I mentioned before, highly processed, so we try and avoid them as much as we can. I mean, I think once you start cooking with olive oil and all the other oils, I tend to just pick up the closest one to me. I've never been bothered about whether I've got vegetable oil or sunflower oil in the house. But there's some really quick changes. If you do cook with vegetable oil or sunflower oil, they're really quick changes that you can make. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
I just got distracted by Georgina's cat then.
Sorry.
Cat's coming
I have
across.
4 of them. They'll be always somewhere.
Oh, lovely.
I love these Zoom calls. You get to see everyone's pets, their house. It's great. So the other thing to really try and avoid from a fats perspective, and it's going to sound really, really silly, is any fat-rich foods. Nutella is classed as one of them. And anything that's got any added sugar in it. So those kind of highly processed, rich fat foods are really the things that we want to avoid. I love Nutella, but again, this is one that you probably want to avoid a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like cocoa beans, that's vegetable. No.
So it all depends on how they're done, right? So if you're eating cocoa beans on their own, that's kind of cool. It's when they go through that kind of process, drying out, and rehydration process that they go through, that's when they...
Okay, I don't actually eat it. I get that from my son.
Cool. Does anyone have any questions? Does everyone think they've got something in their diet from a fats perspective that they might want to try and change a little bit?
Yeah.
Dave, what are you thinking?
Definitely, probably the amount of bacon I eat and sausages.
Okay.
Yeah, and change the oil that I'm cooking, because at the moment you're cooking a bit of rapeseed oil, so I'll probably go change to back to olive oil.
Okay.
So is halloumi cheese another bad one?
Yes,
I love halloumi. I love feta.
Yeah, because they're classed as because they're not as matured. The softness of them as well normally dictates whether.
By the time they've been in my fridge for a while, they're very mature.
So we found some things for Georgina to try and cut back on.
It's all right. Getting back onto a sensible eating thing. I'm coming to the nutrition. I'm listening, but I'm really not doing very well at the moment, and I'm just hoping that I will get back on at some stage.
I think it's just once you've got information and things like settling out your routine, like you're back at work this week as well, right? So settling into your routine, getting into those habits. At the moment, going to the supermarket, you don't know what you're going to pick up. Like I know they say that they're fully stocked and they've got everything, but when you go to the supermarket, you probably aren't going to get everything you want. Like I wanted panko breadcrumbs today and they didn't have any. They just had Paxo golden breadcrumbs, which is completely different and not something I ever cook with. And way worse for you than panko. So it's little things like that that's going to take a little bit of getting used to. It's just trying to work out the kind of small...
I've got no excuse.
it's the small things though, right? So don't try and change everything at once. Just pick one thing. Breakfast. So Dave's got one like today. Cut back on the sausage and bacon. That may or may not be a small thing for Dave, but that's one achievable thing you can focus on through the week. And it's not to say, Dave, don't ever have sausage and bacon again. It's Dave, just try not to have it every day. Or if you have it every other day, have it once a week. Like, try and switch those things out more so. So for the love of halloumi, I mean, I love halloumi. Just make sure you're not having it as often. Like, cut back the amount you have it in a week. That's a really good way to approach it, rather than all or nothing of, oh my God, I can't have halloumi, I can't have this, I can't have bacon.
Yeah.
Pick the one thing that you probably have the most.
Okay.
Fran?
What about low-fat hummus?
Hummus should be all right. It's pretty much just a little bit of oil with your chickpeas. But again, treat it as a fat to a degree, and just be wary of the portion sizing, because it is quite calorific once you add the oil in.
Right, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
What about cottage cheese?
So cottage cheese is on it's actually classed as a protein. Cottage cheese is classed as protein. So you can get away with that one as a palm-sized portion. So you could probably fit that on a sandwich. But cottage cheese is classed as a protein.
Okay.
Does it have to be the low-fat one then?
No, like normal cottage cheese is fine. Like, I would almost argue, controversial here, I would almost argue normal cottage cheese is probably better than low fat because it's less processed. What tends to happen when you go for low fat stuff, although they take out they say they take out the sugar, they also put a ton of artificial sweeteners in it. And for the sake of whole food, you probably don't want those artificial sweeteners in there. Does that make sense?
So if you're cooking with oil, then that should be one of your thumbs.
Yeah, like it should, so long as like I don't even use a full thumb for oil. Like when you get the spray stuff, providing it's the right stuff, that's not even like a quarter of a thumb spray. So what I tend to do with oil is just put it on a bit of kitchen towel, wipe it round the frying pan when the frying pan's warming up, then chuck everything in, because you don't actually need much more than that. There's just little ways that you can kind of cut back on it. And also if you're cooking a meal, like if you're cooking 2 lots of it, remember that 1 thumb portion is going across 2 meals, right? So if you're cooking up double or for other people, that's the other thing to bear in mind. That's why it gets a little bit confusing with fats, which is why it's the list of fats is quite bizarre. So when they say about nuts and stuff like that, that's when the portion sizing is really, really important. Because if there's one thing I know I can overeat, it's nuts.
Yeah.
And cheese. But anyone else got anything that they think they might try and work on over the next week to change in their nutrition a little bit?
Well, mine is just wine. I've been pretty healthy eating, but
Yeah, that one's I think saw a great meme about the lockdown and everyone thinking the country's coming to an end, and I think the meme something like, in 20 years time you think the country's bad now, kids will have been taken over the country after being homeschooled by a bunch of alcoholics.
I saw it.
It just made me chuckle quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, alcohol consumption obviously plays a massive part in nutrition. Alcohol has a ton of different things. It's empty calories for a start. So you're taking on calories that the body will need to burn, but they don't actually bring anything to the body. There's no nutrients, there's none that you get from alcohol. But at the same time, obviously the body's taking on extra calories. At the same time, alcohol kind of restricts the amount that you can recover, how well you recover, your sleep and everything else. So it's just one of those things, like, just be aware of it. I mean, I would say if we were doing like a 6-week challenge in the gym, I would be like, cut it out completely. I think realistically, while everyone's in lockdown, that's not necessarily going to be feasible, right? So it's just being aware of what you're drinking, how much you're drinking, and knowing that it has an impact on your recovery. That's the important thing to know. I mean, I'm with you, Simone. I love a glass of wine.
It's such a habit for me, you know. Yeah. Especially at dinner time with the meal.
Yeah.
Another question. Like with the portion sizes, like you've got to have, say, 6 palm-sized proteins for the day. Do you if you're struggling to actually get all eat all that, what do you do? Like,
so if you struggle to eat it all, I mean, don't worry. So long as you're not feeling tired, exhausted, and all that kind of stuff, it could be that we just need to rejig it a little bit, or it may be that the portion sizes, you know, the ones that you're having aren't the same size, and you're just used to not eating as much. That's when it's really handy to kind of like have that for the snacks. So like you were saying, the boiled eggs and stuff like that, being able to graze throughout the day on stuff. I mean, people are either one extreme or the other. Their portion sizes need to be smaller, or they need to get more food in. No one tends to join a nutritional challenge having it nailed, right? So that's when snacking is a really good option for you, like to graze through the day and picking other snacks other than carbs. Like that's when your veggies and your proteins are the most important to try and get on board.
okay.
Jenny, I don't know if you've got any ideas. So I've had it nailed the last sort of week or something.
Yep.
Even at work, I've got all my Tupperware boxes. I go in, they laugh at me, and I take my cafetiere, so I have a decent coffee instead of their cakes. So
I've got a lot of time for that.
Yeah, I've sorted it out now, but I'm struggling with. So now I'll have some eggs, which I started eating again, which I didn't really eat, but it's hard not to when you're vegetarian. But what else can I put? What can I have my eggs, my avocado, and that on, rather than just a slice of brown bread?
I mean, I would go with pretty much anything, or just have them without. It's entirely up to you. Like there's a really good way you can make like potato pancakes. That's another good option. If you've got a little bit of time to pre-prep them, potato and spinach pancakes are a great option. So that might be one. It sounds a bit weird, egg, avocado, and pancakes, but pancakes don't have to be sweet, right? So that's one option to do. I'll dig out the recipe I've got for the potato and spinach pancakes. They're pretty simple. Boil up your spinach, boil up your sweet potato, get your spinach welted down, mash it all in, and then just fry it. Light fry it. They're pretty good to do as well. They taste all right cold too.
I'll do that now. I've got all that. So
yeah, so that's a really, really good option because that will help you get your carbs in as well. A little bit more whole.
The thing that changed it for me was these farm deliveries that I'm getting. Obviously, I've got 1,000 mouths to feed, but I'm getting the really nice fruit and veg in a box on my doorstep, and that's what's changed it.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's one of the things, talking about going shopping, like I staply live off green beans, and I tend to have like bags of frozen green beans like stored away. Frozen food is really hard to come by in the supermarkets right now. So what we're tending to find is Darren's going food shopping, and it's working out what out of the fresh fruit and veg lasts the longest. So at the start of the week, what I'm cooking up first versus towards the end. That's where like the prepping and the planning comes in really handy. Just so that you know what fruit and veg, so you don't need to buy frozen, you can buy fresh. And it's other things like, just because there's 3 bell peppers in a packet and you only need 1, don't buy the pack of 3, just buy a single bell pepper. Sounds really stupid, but if you plan well enough, like our food shop dropped ridiculously because I stopped doing the whole multi-buys. I think the only things we really buy in multi-pack are like onions, because I like literally cook everything with onion and garlic. But like just buy 1 bell pepper if that's all you need for the week. Obviously, when you've got kids in the house, it's a little bit different because, you know, they get given what they eat, right? That's what my mum always told me.
What's your take on things like rye breads?
Rye bread, yeah.
Rye
So
Vita.
Rye, like it is a processed carb, but it's one of the lesser evils out of, you know, a fresh loaf of bread versus a slice of Vita. The thing with part of it is with things like fresh bread and stuff like that, they're quite addictive to us as humans because we like the smell of bread, the texture of it. It's very different, so we're more likely to overeat it in comparison to a Vita. But those kind of things, if they help you curve from one bad habit into a better habit, it's a great way to do it. Like I'm not one of those people that's going to go, it's not on the list, don't eat it. If it changes a habit that you've got, it's worth doing, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to eat 5 apples a day instead of 7 chocolate bars, knock yourself out. But it is just about finding that balance and changing that habit, right?
Yeah.
Anyone else got anything? I feel like Mark's just had a massive fry up and he's chuckling away in the corner going, what is nutrition?
No, Alana is doing medicine on him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Bless.
Milk or like soy milk, that's fat, isn't it?
I would say yes, usually be, but for you, it's still gonna be classed as a fat. Soy milk. It's not necessarily a bad one for you though, because you're quite limited on your fat intakes to a degree. But I'll dig out a little bit more stuff from a vegan perspective.
Because I don't really eat nuts or anything like that. Like,
yeah,
main fats that I kind of have is oil and soy milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And peanut butter and butter. But
So,
like I have sunflower butter.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, like just working out what fats you do eat, what ones you could potentially change around. That's more what this is about. If you don't eat that many, because some people don't, then don't change too much, right?
Yeah. Oat milk, good for you.
Sorry?
Oat milk.
Yeah, again, it's better than some of the other ones, so long as it's not heavily processed. So we drink coconut milk in our house. I've not drank any normal milk for a long time. So coconut milk's one, and it's always unprocessed coconut milk. Just anything you can get that's a little bit more wholesome. Yes, it does normally mean it doesn't last as long though. That's the problem, right? When stuff's processed, pasteurized, it's done so that it lasts longer than our average. It can live in your fridge for a week rather than 2 days.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the downside, right? It's about finding the balance of whole foods versus lifestyle and what you need on the go and what needs to last without you going to the supermarket every other day.
The soy milk that I have is this one.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
And it says like packed with protein, and like there's in 100 milliliters, there's 1.8 grams of fat, but 3.3 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So that would be more of a protein.
Yeah, for you, yeah.
Okay.
And what's the yogurt? The low fat? I don't know. I can't remember the name. Is it F?
So you've got the Farge Total Greek yogurt.
So I'll have that in my fruit. What is that class under? Is that
so that one's classed as a fat, yeah. Unless you can get the Skyra one. I mean, that one's got like 25 grams of protein and next to no fat in it. That's a really good one to get hold of if you can. It's Icelandic yogurt. It's really good. It's yummy.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, you can. That skier yogurt is really good with some protein, and as B did for that shake, and I got strawberry stuff, and it really lifts the shake along with the chocolate protein powder. It's top notch.
Yeah,
it's good.
It is an original Icelandic product.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
It's made. It's not really a yogurt. It's thicker. It's a bit.
Yeah.
And
it's not your typical Greek yogurt type.
No, but it's originally Icelandic.
Yeah. It's good. I love it. I literally live off that stuff.
I hate it.
Oh no, B!
I never liked it. Like the only way I kind of liked it when I was younger was like plain, just like you buy it plain and then you have to stir it yourself and you put cream and sugar on it.
Yes, because you were probably brought up with it, right? Whereas we've all only seen it as adults and we're like, oh, yogurt, we'll have that.
It was always like, it was one of those things that I was always fussy about, but it was like, oh, it's so healthy, have it. And I'm like, I don't want it.
Oh, bless. Guys, does anyone have any other questions? Cool. So tomorrow we'll do a quick roundup of our protein, our carbs, our fats. We'll see how everyone's doing. We'll see what everyone kind of wants to nail over the weekend. And then, as I've said throughout the week, next week we start talking about gut health a little bit more. So what we can do with our gut, why it's so important, things to do to help it out, all that kind of stuff.
Brilliant.
Won't be here tomorrow.
Oh.
Teaching
yeah,
it.
We'll record it. Don't worry. All right, guys. Have a good day, guys.
Thanks, Jen.
Cheers. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.